Den of Geek fans, Aaron Sagers here, San Diego Comic-Con. And I'll tell you what, one of the best parts about this job is every so often you get to talk to someone that was instrumental in your childhood, such as this gentleman, Chuck Russell, director of Dreamscape, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, The Blob remake, The Mask, Scorpion King. Dude, you've been all over the place.
I change genres every once in a while. Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
All over my childhood. And of course, you are the director of the upcoming reimagining of Witchboard. Now, let's talk a little bit about that. When you're taking this kind of cult classic from 1986, I believe, how do you approach that and give it kind of a fresh polish?
I was inspired by Witchboard back in the day, but I don't do remakes randomly. This is something that just resonated with me personally, and I realized there was a huge fan base that still believed in that picture. And, you know, I remade The Blob, and I only remake films I actually think I can elevate, or as you said, reimagine, and bring something to contemporary audiences they've literally never seen before.
Well, in the original, we saw the talking board / witchboard / Ouija board, but you're taking this in a different direction with this reimagining.
Well, correct. First of all, this is like The Mask for me, in that it's a MacGuffin movie. There is only one witchboard in the way we've presented this, and it's an ancient Wiccan board from the 1700s, and it's what's called a pendulum board. And as I researched this, I became more and more fascinated with what pendulum boards are and were. They were outlawed by the Pope in the 1700s, and are actually once they were outlawed and you could be burned as a witch for using a pendulum for divination and spellcasting, it led to Ouija boards because you no longer could have that particular device. So they're very compelling. I urge people to get involved with any of this with caution. We're not promoting the occult. It's adventure horror, which is what I'm known for with Elm Street 3 and The Blob, and even The Mask is a bit scary in its own way.
Well, psychologically, witch boards, spirit boards, Ouija boards, they're, as you said, it's a MacGuffin in the film, but people in reality, it's sort of like this tangible boogeyman.
There's definitely something very provocative. I believe in a supernatural world. I encourage people to reach for the light and the side of good, so I tend to play my films that way. But more than anything else, we had a great story to tell and a fantastic opportunity with the cast.
Now, this is set in New Orleans, correct?
Correct.
So what is it about New Orleans? I mean, that's a town that's just really, it can become a character in a film unto itself.
You can look into the history of New Orleans and the original settlers. This picture really is about Wicca and what's happened in contemporary Wicca. And again, it's very resonant and compelling, and it's all about the New Orleans vibe.
Well, speaking of that, why is this a good time to tell this kind of story that taps into the occult, the paranormal? You've got spiritualism elements in there. You know, why now?
I just think people are more accepting of the supernatural world that we can access through our own dreams. So I'm definitely heading back to my own work in Nightmare 3 Dream Warriors, where you can envision your own world in a dream. And that is an element in the story.
Do you find yourself, as you're dealing with these elements of that are real world, like Wicca is a real world belief system, which I'm sure you're also trying to approach respectfully.
Absolutely. Yes.
So what is the balance of, you know, addressing these things that some people actively believe in, and you want to make it scary, but you don't want to disrespect anything?
We have really both of the characters that are meant to be occult experts actually express that Wicca is a real thing. We respect the people involved with Wicca. Our other characters may agree or disagree with them. And so I think we represent both the dark and light side of that kind of supernaturalism.
As we were talking a little bit behind the scenes, I love Dreamscape. I love Dream Warriors. And as a kid, the lizard man from Dreamscape did haunt me and thrilled me. So as we're heading into Witchboard, are we going to see that kind of level of gore and fun gore? And what do we have in store?
Look, this is my return to the horror genre after a number of years. I think of it as the third in my own personal horror trilogy. So I wouldn't have started this if I didn't think I could outdo myself. So I look at it as imagination. How much further can I take these visions and dreams and scares? And for me, this is the scariest movie I've ever made, and with the best cast.
So talk a little bit about this cast, because we recognize Jamie from Stranger Things, and he had such a chilling impact in that show.
Jamie blew us all away in Stranger Things. For me, having the opportunity to work with Jamie was a little bit like the first time I worked with Jim Carrey in The Mask, which is somebody that talented. And I realized I had a vehicle that was appropriate. And he said yes right away. We had an amazing Zoom call over it. So I think Jamie is going next level in Witchboard. He really steals the show.
That is high praise. What about some of the rest of your cast?
Madison Eisman, who you may know from the Jumanji franchise and the Annabelle franchise, who is an incredible young actress. Erin Dominguez, who's a great new star. Antonia Despa, who plays an ancient character that I think will shock people, who's an amazing European actress. So I won't give you all the names, but it's a wonderful young cast, and I'm thrilled to work with.
Well, I mean, as you have proven throughout your career, you're a bit of a maestro about assembling incredible casts.
The most fun in directing films for me is to take somebody with potential and take them to the next level. I got to do Dwayne Johnson's first leading role in Scorpion King, of course, Jim and Cameron Diaz in The Mask. Every time I've been fortunate in that I've had a couple of cast members that really kind of exploded after my films. So I think Witchboard will carry on that tradition.
Yeah, well, I would not bet against you as far as casting. So, yeah, no, I look forward to it. Within the horror genre, but also people that believe in the supernatural and pursue the occult, there's always this level of rules, right? Rituals and rules. Dream Warriors, dreams that you had rules. So can you tease a little bit about some of the rules of the world of your Witchboard?
I treat, in fact, Madison Eisman does a fantastic job of playing as our lead lady, playing a character who's had a drug addiction. For me, the dynamic we play out here is there is a kind of a potential addiction to the occult that starts with just your friendly neighborhood astrologist who might have gotten something right. Are you going to let that become an obsession? Or are you going to trust your own instincts? So that's part of the balance that we dramatize.
I love that. That's great, and that's spot on. I agree with that. Also, for you, I mean, you've been able to craft so many fears for us throughout generations, as well as adventures. But what freaks you out? Is there anything?
It all freaks me out.
Like what? Come on, lay it on.
They still talk about things in Elm Street 3 I wouldn't allow on this set. Because there's a point. I have to use my own instincts. Because ultimately, I believe horror is cathartic. So I like facing our fears and coming out the winner. I don't want to give any spoilers away because very few characters make it through the movie, as you might expect. But I like the vibe this movie ultimately gives. So I believe in the light, but you can only dramatize the light by dramatizing the dark. So I took out all stops on that.
So do you view yourself as a storyteller that can dance up to the line of darkness without becoming overly bleak or, quote unquote, dark and gritty?
Yeah, other people are better than I at making nihilistic, depressing horror. I like cathartic horror. I like scaring the heck out of my audience, but surviving and celebrating the fact that we can all face our fears.
Yeah, that's the best kind of funhouse adventure, right? You get scared and then you laugh and you come out. Yeah, you walk out of that tunnel, back into the light.
I would agree with that, but I love all kinds of cinema when I go as a fan.
Well, I could not be more excited to catch a Witchboard, the reimagining. We're getting it in 2024. I've seen a little snippet of it.
We're sneaking a little here at Comic-Con. We're sneaking a little glimpse.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. So I want more. I want it injected right into my veins. Sir, thank you just so much for giving me the scares and adventures throughout my childhood and keeping it going with Witchboard in 2024.
Thank you so much.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you, Chuck.